Hey guys, Shakra is here for yet another installment of the LoLpro quick guides. I apologize for the lack of guides, but I've been busy with other commitments. Today we'll be taking a look at...
I'm gonna crush your dreams! They're in your skull, right?
That's right, Trundle, but in the top lane. This guide is by Crayy, a Diamond 1 ranked player on Europe West that has picked up Trundle recently, and with about 35 games he has an impressive win-loss of 70%. Trundle is a very versatile champion that can be played in an array of different ways. He can be a tank frontliner, peeling for the carry, a bruiser that jumps on a key priority target to zone him and kill him, or alternatively as a split pusher. With correct itemization, he becomes one of the best in this regard. So let's start with runes. Runes are pretty aggressive, synergizing with his playstyle, attack damage marks, armor seals, magic resist glyphs per level or flat depending on the opponent, and lifesteal quintessences. Alternatively, you can run attack damage on quintessences. For masteries, the typical bruiser page, 9-21-0. Some points can be allocated according to your matchups. If the enemy team has a lot of soft CCs, for example, you can pick up Relentless. Sunray spells are pretty straightforward. You should bring Flash and Ignite with you most of the time. Flash will ensure that you can escape and close the gaps sometimes, and Ignite increases your kill potential with Blade of the Ruined King and Subjugate. Alternatively, you can run Ghost instead of Flash, or Teleport instead of Ignite. Now let's move on to the builds, and we prepared two different builds, each one for a different kind of playstyle. But to start off, in general, you'll want to get a flask, a ward, and a health potion. The reason why you want flask is because you'll need it to get your health and mana back up multiple times, so it becomes more gold efficient in spamming potions. The first build is centered around split pushing. The two core items are Blade of the Ruined King and Ravenous Hydra. Blade of the Ruined King gives Trundle everything he needs and is perfect for dueling. Ravenous Hydra gives you even more sustain and ridiculous wave clear. With these two items, you'll have crazy amounts of sustain, making you a feared split pusher and duelist. Boots can be a choice between Tabby, Merc Treads, and Boots of Swiftness, depending on the enemy team composition. After these two big items in boots, you should itemize for defense. You'll need it in order to trade more effectively and survive encounters. Consider buying items that give you resists and health, so you can tank damage and not die so easily. Now for the second build, this one is more teamfight oriented. To start off, you rush a Blade of the Ruined King as well. You then itemize for health, CDR, and resists. Depending on the enemy team composition and your lane opponent, you'll want either Glacial Shroud or Spirit Visage. Ancient Golem is also a great item because it's cheap and gives many key stats for Trundle. To top off the build, you can go for Iceborne Gauntlet and then cookie cutter items for a tankish bruiser, like Randuin's. If you're not too much of a fan of rushing Blade of the Ruined King, you can leave it as a Vamp Scepter and rush a Triforce. After that, get a Frozen Heart or a Visage, depending on the enemy team comp. Finish Blade only later, and then itemize for defense, as always. The important thing to learn from Trundle is that he is extremely versatile. Your build should largely depend on your opponent, the team comp, and the situation of your team. You should always build one or even two damage items, and then go for CDR, because that's where Trundle's utility and strength comes from, due to his rather low cooldowns on his abilities. Now let's move on to strategy and some tips so you can improve your gameplay as Trundle. Try not to first pick Trundle because he can easily be counterpicked by champions like Vladimir, Cannon, or Jace. Other than that, he can probably win against any melee champion, provided you trade well. Also remember that Chomp resets the auto attack animation, so a good way of harassing is auto attack into a Chomp into another auto attack. If you're finding yourself up against ranged champions, try to stay back and get as many last hits as possible without tanking too many auto attacks from your opponent. Trundle farms really well under the turret due to his Chomp. He also heals up well with his Frozen Domain. After level 6 is when your power spikes hard. If you want to go for the kill, a combination of Blade of the Ruined King or Cutlass plus Ignite and Subjugate give you a whole lot of kill potential. But remember only to cast Subjugate when you're actually dropping in health, because if you open up with it, you won't gain that spike of health that Subjugate gives you. Now let's move out of laning and into split pushing. As a split pusher, your objective is to be as disruptive as possible. Frozen Domain, Blade of the Ruined King, and Ravenous Hydra give you godlike wave clear in split pushing. Force your opponent out of the lane with your superior dueling and destroy his lane afterwards. Wards are key if you want to split push to avoid getting caught. With your kit, you can easily run away if you see them coming. Late game, you should split from your team and push bot lane. Have your team pressure Baron. Putting the enemy in such a situation is very tough, and they'll end up having to choose between shutting you down and preventing an inhibitor from falling, or stopping Baron. With good coordination, you'll force them to commit to one, and you'll get the other. Now let's move on to team fighting. When initiating, sometimes it is not a good idea to immediately put your pillar, as many enemies have flash, blinks, or dashes. Instead, try to bait them out and put the pillar after they've wasted their escapes. I would not advise smart casting Trundle's pillar, especially if you're new to him. Landing a good pillar is very important. Remember that Trundle's pillar can knock up people and thus interrupting recalls or casts like Katarina's Death Lotus. It also gives vision, so it's a great scouting tool. A good pillar can be the saving grace for your AD carry. Be sure to help him peel if no one else is doing it for him. When in a team fight, you can either ult a tank, gain their resistances and become an unkillable frontliner, or instead go for an assassinish role, ulting a carry to try to bring him down with ease, as he's pretty much made of glass. Choose wisely though, you might not survive if you go for the second option. That's all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope I see more trolls in the Summoner's Rift. Chakra signing out.